James, Tim McMahon, ESPN. Mike said that the refs admitted to him at half that they'd missed 4 of those closeouts. You know, from your perspective, do you feel like, you know, part of the Warriors' game plan against you is to kind of test the limits on that until those are called? And, you know, what can you do about that?
What can I do about it? I was told the same thing at half, and it's probably a couple more in that second half. I mean, I just want a fair chance, man. Call the game how it's supposed to be called, and that's it. And I'll live with the results. But when you, especially we all know what happened, you know, a few years back with Kawhi, like that can change it.
Were the Rockets robbed?
What?
Here again.
What you think? I'm on the team. What you want me to say? No.
Were the Rockets robbed?
No! I don't want to hear, like, if your game plan is based on the manipulation of rules and that's what you're relying on, save it. Here's a real simple thing for James Harden. I've been saying it all year. Hit your shots. Don't be looking for the referee to bail you out. Hit your shots. I want to...
Scotty, that is a lot of stuff going on in less than 24 hours, but it's now all part of this conversation. Do you think the Rockets deserve more calls, that would have changed Game 1?
I mean, based on what I saw from the Rockets in the regular season, based on what I've seen James Harden get in the regular season, the calls that he gets, yes, he did deserve some calls. Anytime you make contact with a guy when he's still in the air, that's automatically a call. I don't care if he launched himself at him. You have to give him room to come down. You see guys go to the basket all the time, shooting runners, shooting floaters. They get a foul on that contact, and they're floating. So it's the same situation with a jump shooter in some senses, that as long as the guy is in the air, he's vulnerable and you're not allowed to make contact.
Discouraged by James Harden's performance.
Why?
Because he choked under pressure. If you, and I'm so sick of people saying, well, it's really hard in the playoffs because they defend you differently, like they defended Michael Jordan differently, and somehow he got better. Oh, you got to be Michael Jordan? Well, yes, James Harden has put up historic numbers in recent regular seasons.
You've compared him to Peyton Manning.
Oh, yeah. Right, only to collapse under pressure.
So let's get one thing straight. If you're under my comments talking that nonsense about me being a Rockets fanboy, that's funny, man. Go ahead and kick rocks, because I cannot count the amount of times that I have stated that the Rockets playing style sickens me, because I am not a believer in making the three-point shot your main weapon. Look, man, I hate to live by the three, die by the three DNA this team has. But one thing I will not do is sit here and listen to some of these blowhards that claim that the Rockets are some whack, losing, choking team, when in all actuality, when doing some digging, we see that the Rockets have been wronged on more than one occasion in the past 2 years in the postseason due to officiating. Now, before we get started, understand that I'm about to say some stuff that may offend Golden State fanboys, but that's cool, man. You need to hear the truth, because Steph, Klay, Dre, and even KD are not as dominant as they may seem, and really got their butts saved in the Western Conference Finals last year and the Western Conference Semifinals this year by some blown officiating. Let's get it. First things first, we have to know that the NBA is not necessarily rigged, but that it is heavily swayed, meaning that they cannot guarantee a specific result or a score, but they can sway it as much as possible and gift wrap games for a certain team. And to do this, they use their most dangerous weapon, the NBA referees. Now, these referees can affect the game through moving screen calls, non-calls, and ones, non-calls for flops, etc. They are extremely good at sprinkling these throughout a game, but desperate times call for desperate measures. And to address this situation with the Houston Rockets, we must first talk about the notorious Scott Foster. Now, in my up-and-coming 45-minute-plus documentary, I will discuss how the NBA can sway games, and we'll delve more on this guy later. But Scott Foster is the same guy who had heavy, I mean heavy, involvement with disgraced scapegoat referee Tim Donaghy. During Donaghy's run of fixing games that he bet on, he made calls daily to Scott Foster using the same phone that he used to call his plug. Now, this is all public record, and you can go check it out for yourself. The reason that this is so important is, guess which special referee had the honor of reffing not only Game 7 of the 2018 Western Conference Finals, but also Game 2 of the 2019 Western Conference Semifinals, as well with Golden State and Houston. Not to mention Game 7 of the 2010 Finals, Game 7 of the 2013 Finals, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Semifinals with Toronto and Philly, Game 7 of the first round in 2018 of the Cavs and Pacers, Game 7 in 2012 with the Celtics and the Heat. Mr. Scott Foster, the notorious number 48, is very, very prevalent with these kind of situations. Now, Houston's record with Foster officiating the games this season is 0-8, and since 2017 have not won a game refereed by this man. While some may state that this is a coincidence or may have some special reason for why this is the case, let's just say this. If this was the record of a team when Kyrie, LeBron, KD, or Kawhi was in the lineup, people would have a field day saying that they are a cancer to the team. All right, so I don't want to hear that nonsense, all right? But when this is their record, when he officiates, it's just them, right? Nah, I ain't trying to hear that, man. By the way, to the wise guys who will say that the NBA presets the ref choices, so it's not intentional, look, bud, that only goes through the first 4 games. Any game after that, they can choose who to send. Okay, so let's get to the evidence of the terrible one-sided officiating. We're going to look at Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals where we can see this tomfoolery in action. Now, for the 2018 Western Conference Finals, I originally had Golden State winning this series in 5 if Iggy didn't get hurt, but CP3 did get lost for the end of Game 5 and the entire Game 6s and 7. So this game was going to allow us to see what's really up. So it was pretty fair. James needed to come through, and the Warriors could not allow a trip to the conference finals to be the end of their season with a stacked squad. It would just be inexcusable. So let's check these plays out. All right, first play, Clint Capela clearly establishes his pivot foot and is legal to make the one dribble and layup, but gets called as a travel. Next play, Harden is going to set a pick that is questionable, whether it's moving or not, and could go either way, I admit, but gets called for a moving screen. But later on throughout the game, we can see Curry hit a 3 in the corner, where Jordan Bell is clearly setting a moving screen for Golden State, running one of their classic plays where Boga usually sets the screen in previous years, but Bell does it here and is moving like he's boxing out for a rebound by the three-point line before Curry shoots, yet it is not called. You can even hear Chris Webber and Reggie Miller both call this out in the commentary.
That's a double foul. How about the screen, though, by Jordan Bell? The moving screen? Well, I didn't hear a whistle, so apparently it was a good screen. Oh, yeah.
Next play, Durant apparently gets fouled, bailing him out from a miss from under the backboard. Next play, we have a Clint Capela block, which was clearly before the ball hit the backboard, yet it got called as a foul, and the bucket counted, being ruled as a goaltend. Next play, I hate when James does this crap, but yes, Jordan Bell fouled him, and this should have been 3 free throw attempts. Hand got caught in the cookie jar. It's just that simple.
Can you get ball movement and get some screens, some flares for Thompson, one of your best shooters on the floor?
Here's Harden, way off.
Another foul he should have gotten.
Thompson, yes.
6-point swing right there. Back-to-back plays where James Harden, in my opinion, was fouled. Yes. This is the second 3 in which Bell gets his arm. That's not a swipe through. This is Game 7. That's 6 points you lead on the line. Every possession matters. And as a referee, you have that. You got to call that. You got that angle.
Curry with the hand off.
Simple. Once again, I hate these James 3-point attempts, but that is a foul. Clearly, lots of contact on the shot. 3 free throws that should have been awarded that were not.
4-3. That's why you have him in with 3 fouls.
Harden. He was looking for a foul on Bell. Mike D'Antoni upset.
And should have gotten it. I mean, you got to protect the shooter. We saw this all in Game 6 and already one here in Game 7. Tell me if there's any contact here.
Yes.
Yes. And the airspace up under also. He got fouled up top and up under.
The next play, Klay Thompson got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and this would have been a potential 4-point play, but it got waved off.
Seventh decisive game in this Western Conference Finals. Harden Kelko. But he's fouled by Thompson, who picked up number 4.
I think this is a shot. This is the third call that he's missed. I think this is good. This is the third, yes. He was already into his shooting motion. He would normally shoot this, though. They're not going to count it, but that's a normal shot. We'll see that throughout the course of this second half from Harden.
Waved off. Looney, the next play, is going to get away with a moving screen, which allows for a Nick Young 3. The next play, Eric Gordon is going to drive to the cup, and Jordan Bell goes up perfectly, walling up and not jumping forward. But it is Draymond Green who comes in and commits the foul, but does not get called.
As his 7th 3 of this series.
How about Houston going to their smallest and quickest lineup?
He thought he was fouled.
A lot of contact on this play. Wow. I think that was a foul.
Wow.
But how about Tucker inside? That's definitely.
We now see in the next play 6'9" Jordan Bell pull a Marcus Smart flop, jumping like he's going to a pool after getting touched by 6'5" PJ Tucker, who gets called for a foul. Go figure. Now Trevor Ariza on the Durant pull-up jumper gets called for a foul after going up about as cleanly as possible on a player as tall as Durant. The Rockets this game were in control for most of the match and lost it through the third quarter and on. And to be honest, I'm very surprised and was very surprised at the time while watching that Harden and the Rockets were able to stay up with as many calls that killed them. Now, with all of those calls being called properly, Houston probably wins this game after losing by only 9 and having many potential points snatched away by swallowed whistles and unfair reffing. And with a victory in Game 7, or in a Game 7 over this team, all of a sudden James Harden is no longer a quote-unquote playoff choker, and CP3 finally makes the finals, and they most likely beat Cleveland in 6 or less. Fast forward to this year, Game 1, and we see more of the same. Now, let me say this. Houston has to realize that flopping is never going to get you anywhere. A lot of the times you just got to play ball. But I'm sorry. These are blatant fouls. Starting off with this play, people love calling the Rockets floppers, but the Warriors flop too, as we saw earlier with Jordan Bell, and now with Curry. Refs don't call them for flopping, but they just play ball. Next play, Harden gets called for a foul for touching Steph, literally touching him, not hard contact on a shot, but touching him, which greatly affected Curry's shooting motion, I presume. Harden gets called for that reach. Next play, Klay clearly takes space away from James on this jumper. This is so important because it's not only 3 free throws attempts that Houston should have gotten, but James Harden is their MVP and could have been injured in the same way that Kawhi did in the 2017 Western Conference Finals, the same way that Kobe did during the 2000s Finals, and why the refs even acknowledged at halftime that they missed all of these calls in the first half. Next play, Harden once again gets stepped under and drains the 3 with no and one. Should have been a trip to the line.
Well, and that's a foul, and you can make the case that that could be a flagrant foul, according to the rules, going underneath the guy.
Next play, once again, James Harden was stepped under on this jumper, and this truly should have been a flagrant. Taking out any player is nasty, but taking out their MVP is unacceptable for the NBA, and the reason these rules were created is because of what Zaza Pachulia did in the 2017 Western Conference Finals in Game 1 on their own team. Now, Klay is jumping to contest and stepping under James as well. You can contest these with high efficiency without fouling. That's about 7 free throws right there to a guy who's knocked down from the line. By the way, to all the lames that are clicking your little thumbs away on some, but Harden travels on his step backs. Oh, yeah? All right, well, Klay Thompson walks on a lot of his fast break threes, and Kevin Durant carries every single time he's in the post. The NBA will let star players get away with walks and things of that nature on signature moves, so you really don't want to do tit for tat here. On this play, Chris Paul clearly gets whacked on the hand during the shooting motion by Kevin Durant, hence his little tantrum running down the court where he thanks the referee for his great vision.
One of those vintage Draymond Green games, just like he did Game 6 Friday. Chris Paul can't hit. Here's Durant. Durant drops. Wound up turning into a dunk for Durant. Paul feeling the contact on that right wrist, and as he ran down the floor, he was looking at Courtney Kirkland and didn't see the ball coming for Durant. There you see him looking.
Now in this next foul, I'm not mad about the step under because Chris clearly flails his legs. However, Livingston gave that man a high five in the air for making the shot. Like, come on, man.
Number of them here today that have not been called, as Durant will shoot the one-shot technical. That one's not so easy. Paul kind of threw his right hip in there. But you see Livingston going forward in that landing area. And another technical foul. This time it's on Mike D'Antoni.
This is an and one, and when CP3 once again gets mad about the missed call, they throw that tech. And then D'Antoni got hit with a tech for getting mad about said call. And then we know, of course, that CP3 gets thrown out. And all the fans laugh at the Rockets like they're the biggest losers on the planet. Now watch Draymond flop here like he just got ran through by Ezekiel Elliott. Then Nene with no reach gets called for a foul on Durant for breathing on him, I guess. For the wise guys who might say that James was kicking his legs, he started doing that after the refs came to him and D'Antoni and admitted that they missed 4 3-point attempt calls, which is an easy 12 free throws right there. I just think it's funny because Golden State won this game by a whopping 4 points, I believe. And if the refs called even half of these calls properly, the Rockets most likely win this game. And what do you know? The Rockets are potentially up 3-1 through the first 4 games, and the pressure is on Golden State to perform. Now let's remind ourselves that Golden State, they are not these perfect playoff performers that people think they are. During the KD era, they have truly never been tested by any other team besides the Rockets and Spurs. In 2017, they got let off the hook when Kawhi and the Spurs had the Warriors down by 21 points to the Spurs in the third before Kawhi got injured by Zaza Pachulia shot and hit 2 free throws and went to the bench before the Warriors exploded and won by 2 points in Game 1. Let's not act like Golden State would have creamed the Spurs and most likely would have lost this game. And the Spurs, maybe the Spurs' next 2 home games, they might have won them. And another potential 3-1 deficit. Now, San Antonio had a 61-win record that year, along with the number 9 offensive rating and number 1 defensive rating with a Kawhi Leonard that almost had a 50-40-90 season and were number 2 in simple rating system. They were a great team that the Warriors got to slip away from, stress-free, due to a nice step under from one of their enforcers. Now, the Golden State Warriors are a great dynasty, no doubt about it, but let's not act like they've been taking out great teams at full health with fair reffing. Also, I think it's funny, man, that Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell, 2 guys who played the Rockets in the series before, even spoke out against the nonsense that went on with the Golden State-Houston series. This is why I suggest people to not debate with these guys who don't do their homework and allow guys like Stephen A. Max, Skip, etc. to be their voice for what they think. I don't care how many basketball breakdowns people do to show the Rockets bad switches or the Warriors running great plays. The Rockets were wronged, and only a blind person would say that these are not fouls. Are you kidding me? Look, man, I hate the Rockets style of play, but if it works, it works. I think the Warriors at full operation versus the Rockets at full operation will beat the Rockets. But that doesn't change the fact that not only was Houston robbed last year, but they were also robbed of a pivotal Game 1 this year at Oracle. Think about how deflating that is for a team to get robbed the year before, re-up and train for another year and get robbed again. The 1988 Pistons got robbed, the 2002 Kings got robbed, the 2016 Warriors got robbed, the 2012 Thunder were hamstrung, and many more. Alright, and with that, I lead to my next statement. Please stop with the silly-ass jokes about CP3 and Harden being losers and chokers. Go back and look at Game 7 last year and say that Houston wasn't robbed. Just go back and watch the whole game. Go to Game 1 this year where once again the refs killed them, which kept them from punching Golden State in the mouth early. I just love how people talk about Harden like he's an utter choke artist. But why do we kill him for taking Golden State to 7 games, being up at the half before 4 All-Stars defeated him and his Rockets after they got cheated? All right, now the jokes about CP3 choking are funny as well, because people don't talk about him killing Steph Curry last year at 33 years of age, and before this series had a winning record head-to-head against Steph in the playoffs. Back in the 2016 finals, it was clear that Cleveland got a lot of help, as stated by Stephen A. Smith and Aisha Curry themselves, in response to the blatant support that Cleveland got from the refs.
And then you brought up Golden State when they came back with a 3-1 deficit. Did you forget that stimulus package that the NBA gave the Cleveland Cavaliers, suspended Draymond Green, and then after that, Andrew Bogut gets hurt?
Where was Draymond in Game 7?
I'm just saying.
Was Draymond in the building for Game 7?
Was Bogut and Iguodala ready? No, they weren't. They won 100%. So I'm just saying, guys, look.
Got from the refs. But I just think that for people to act like these series don't get affected by referees, it's just funny, because these are the same people who try and say no excuses. To those who say that the Rockets choked, no, to choke not only do you have to be up You also have to have the upper hand. Nobody says LeBron choked last year against Golden State because we knew that he did not have the upper hand. Wow. Just needed to address this because much talk has been about the Rockets as if they are this band of complaining floppers that cheat their way to wins. I won't argue with cats about this, honestly, because it's like arguing whether up is up or down is down. You're just wasting your time. If you ask me who's better, James Harden or Steph Curry, I'll give you my opinion and we could debate. But to say that Houston didn't clearly get cheated 2 years in a row, nah, kick rocks with that, man. Go back and watch the tape. Even the announcers can't hide their frustration with the ticky-tack for Golden State and the swallowed whistles for Houston. This summer, I will be dropping a movie / documentary, which is an in-depth look at how the NBA sways games and why they're not rigged but heavily swayed. It should explain everything a lot better in regards to awards and the postseason. God bless to all. I'm out. You already know, never be mad at me, but be mad at yourself for being an underachiever. Play the outro.